Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and on this podcast we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. And today, it's just me. You've got just me. And I am really enjoying these solo podcasts because it's allowing me just to delve a little deeper into strategies that help me, my own thoughts, a little bit of a diary of me building my business. It's just a lovely way to communicate with you and just add some extra value into the week. So today, I want to talk about one of the most transformative elements of success and one of the topics that comes up again and again for me with clients in any conversation I have with any other business owners. And when people say to me that they believe I hold certain qualities myself, it always comes back to this, and that is courage. So while confidence often gets the spotlight, it's courage that builds the foundation for growth, the foundation for resilience, and the ability to make those bold decisions that move us closer to our goals. Confidence comes after courage. It's earned by stepping into fear, trying and proving to ourselves that we can do hard things. So in this episode, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between courage and confidence, and why courage is the muscle that you need to flex when confidence feels out of reach, when everything tells you that you can't, and when everything tells you what you should be doing when ultimately you know what you could be doing. And we'll explore the art of bold decision making and how courage plays a key role in success. And we'll, as always, give practical ways to reinforce it in your daily life. So let's talk about myself and courage. Now, I didn't particularly think I was either a confident or a courageous person, but it was brought to my attention that I had an ability to leap. I had an ability to do hard things. I had an ability to make bold decisions. And ultimately, it does come down to courage. People would say to me, "Oh, you're so confident. You've started a podcast." "Oh, you're so confident. Oh, you're recording you're doing video episodes of your podcast as well as the audio. Why did you decide to do that? That's a really confident thing to do." And ultimately, I'm not a confident person. I am naturally very introverted, extrovert, I suppose, but I don't enjoy extroverted pursuits particularly. And I just have never felt that confident, but I have a little bit that I just do. So by that, I mean, if somebody tells me this is the way something has to happen, I have an ability to just go and do that thing. And I think a lot of it is putting others at the center. So a lot of that comes down to your why, and ultimately why you want your life to be a certain way, why you want to strive for certain goals. And I am going to do another podcast next week completely on your why, and how deep your why goes is how brave and bold and courageous you chose to be. And I can't really explain why from a very young age I had the courage to show up. But I suppose I've always just worked on a belief in myself, and if I wanted something to happen, I was the person that was going to make it happen. So it wasn't a confidence, it wasn't a thing of that I knew it could, but perhaps I never had such a fear of failure. Even though I'm terrified when I do things, I'm still completely nervous when I'm doing these podcast episodes. But I work on my courage muscle. I work on showing up where it matters. I decide what I want within my life, and I choose how I'm going to go and get it. I might not always choose the quickest path or the easiest path, because I'll choose what suits me at that time. And sometimes that is staying in the comfort zone, but I still have the ability to make the bold and courageous choices. And I truly, truly believe in those bold and courageous choices. I also think it's a bit of a personality trait that I'm quite impulsive and I need to just take the action. I need to just make the decision. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, about how I change my mindset quickly. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And when I was trying to think of a particular moment to go back to and say, here's where I made a bold, courageous choice and here how it transformed my life. When actually what I want to say is I make small, bold, courageous choices every single day in my business. Coming to record this podcast to come out on Monday is my bold, courageous choice of the day, because I could have easily chosen not to. I could come up with a thousand reasons why not to. I've had a particularly challenging week, mindset wise, but the bold, courageous action to do today is to do this. Now, this is episode 14. So I am 14 published episodes, and I have a bank now of recorded episodes, and I'm recording more episodes this week. So this is becoming something that I am becoming confident in because I'm practicing it, because it's become something that I've become used to doing, or I understand it more. I know what buttons to press. I know how to publish it. I know generally what I'm going to come and say, even if this precise moment in time, it sounds like I'm babbling quite a lot. But ultimately, what I want to say is the small, courageous choices that I make on a daily basis that end up being the best decisions for my life and my business. Sometimes they have been bigger, bolder decisions when I chose to leave my career and start my business. But I knew it was time to leap when it felt scarier to stay and do the thing than it did to leap and try something that I believed ultimately was going to be better for me and my family. So that is where courage came into it then. But to me, it seemed like a bit of a no-brainer at that point, and that was the best option that we had. So I do lean into courage every single day. I do lean into courage, and perhaps going towards confidence in the sense that it is a belief that if I leap, something good will happen. It might not be the outcome that I expect, but something good will happen from it. And every time I've made the big, bold moves that felt incredibly scary, that felt like a rock in the pit of my stomach, that had me having the fizzies, as I say, that gives me that tingling feeling all over, and perhaps feeling a little bit sick and unsure of how something was going to go, that is when I've had the biggest transformations. That is when I've had the biggest successes in my life. But it is from learned experience, but it's certainly not from confidence. So when I have done these things, when I've leaned into courage, trusting that the action would bring clarity, movement, momentum, success within my business, they ultimately did. And the decision changed my path every single time, opened up new opportunities every single time, and reminded me that courage can change the game. And it is that learned is where we start to go towards confidence. So it's important to understand that courage and confidence aren't the same thing. Confidence is the result. It's what we feel after we've done something enough times to know that we can handle it. As I explained before, I am probably edging towards confidence with the podcast now, knowing that when I come into my home office and get myself set up and set up the mic and get ready and jot down what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to get done in that recording, or if I'm recording with a guest, I now have the confidence that I have the ability to at least get through the recording. I now know once I've done the recording, I have the ability to edit to my skills at this precise moment in time and schedule and publish the podcast episode. So I'm beginning to get confident in those things. If somebody was to ask me how I publish a podcast, I would relatively confidently be able to tell them how. But courage is what we rely on when we're standing at the edge of uncertainty. Courage is what we rely on when we have an idea and we want to get it out into the world. Courage is what we rely on when it's something that we have never done before, or perhaps don't have much knowledge of, unsure if we'll succeed, but we are willing to try anyway. Think of courage as the spark and confidence as the fire that grows from it. You don't need confidence to start something. You can't wait until you're confident, because that confidence will never come. If I'd waited till I was confident to start the podcast, I would still be waiting. I'm 14 published episodes in, probably recorded 20, 25 in the region of that so far. And I'm still wouldn't say that I'm confident every time I come to this microphone. But you just need the courage to take the first step. You just need the courage to press record for the first time, to send the email, to speak to the person, to go out the run. Whatever it is that you want to do, you just need the courage to just do the thing. And as I said before, courage for me is about the small moments. It's not just for the big moments. It's actually, as I've began to work with more clients, speak to more people, as my business continues to grow, when I'm talking to people, I realize that I use courage as a real tool during my hardest days. When everything feels overwhelming or stuck, I use courage to change the landscape. Sometimes that means making a bold decision, like saying no to something that's draining my energy, or sometimes it's starting a project that feels far too ambitious. Sometimes it's having a conversation that I've been putting off that's left me feeling stuck, or doing a task that I know I really don't want to do, either that I don't like it, it's accounts, or it's something I know I'm not very good at, but I know I need to do. I know I need to work through it. I work on courage to get through those times. As I mentioned, it's been a particularly difficult week this week, and I had one particular day where it was just spiraling. Things were happening. Phone calls, emails, text messages, everything seemed to bring doomsday. And by the end of the day, I knew I had to change the discourse of the day, the way I was feeling, the productivity of the day, the action taken of the day. And I knew I had to do something bold. So there's something I'd been putting off on reaching out to a number of people that have been sat in my notepad that I've been wanting to reach out to, that I've been wanting to work with, collaborate with, and bring into my world in various ways, including coming onto this podcast. So at the end of the day, I sat very upset, very downtrodden, and not feeling my best, but I knew I had to change the way the day has felt. So I sent out the emails that I wanted to send out. So it's just about taking the small action. So I just took small action, which took me about 20 minutes to send these 5 emails to these individuals that I admire, and it changed my day. It ultimately changed my day. I felt, even just by sending those emails, I felt that I had done something productive, big, bold, and I changed what that day was about by stepping into my courage, something that I was putting off for whatever reason. But I just decided that I was going to have the courage, because what's the worst that could happen? They wouldn't reply, but they would have a lovely email in their inbox telling them that I thought they were great and I'd like to work with them. I have since heard back from 3 of those people. So I was then delighted. And when a week that felt challenging and uncomfortable and difficult were these beacons of light in there, that I had moved my business on in a way that I wanted to move it on, as well as wonderful things happening within the Joy Work Members Club. We had the Joy Exchange networking. There was so many beacons of light in this horrible, horrible week of how I was feeling. So it's just about taking that one small action, sending an email, making a call, or even just getting out of your own head to shift the trajectory of the day, of the week, of the month. Please don't let it go on for a month. Please make it of the day. My day was Monday. Those emails went out on Monday night. The week got slightly better, but there was still very hard moments. But that changed the trajectory for me. The week was still productive and action taken, and there was still momentum in the business, which is so important for me and so important for my mental health too. So courage helps me take control of the narrative, even when things feel uncertain. It's about reminding myself that doing something, anything, is better than staying stuck. I do not ever want to stay stuck. ever. So I use courage to move myself on. So how can you reinforce courage in your own life? How can you step into the courage when you need to and to take those steps? Here are a few practical strategies that you can try. Start small. Courage grows with practice. Just like confidence is learned from experience, courage grows when you get used to taking that first small step. So try small, brave actions daily. Whether that's speaking up in a meeting, reaching out to someone new, saying no to something that you really don't want to do, or trying something outside your comfort zone. Reframe fear. Instead of thinking of fear as a stop sign, instead of thinking of fear as something that is finite, see it as a green light. See it as something that can fuel you to go further. Fear often means you're about to grow. Fear often is there just before the light breaks. So think of fear as something that you have to go through to feel the feelings before the great success and the next big growth comes, the next big, bold, exciting thing in your business. So sit with your fear. Lean into support. Courage isn't about going it alone. Courage isn't about being the best fighter in the room, the toughest person, the person that can go through anything, the person that can push through even when their health is on. Courage is about knowing what is right for you, your family, your business, your life, and the ability to stand next to it and by it and be it. So you want to surround yourself with people who cheer you on and hold you accountable. You don't want to be surrounded by yes people. You want to be surrounded by people who truly want the best for you at all times. And sometimes that means that they need to use their courage to tell you no and hold you accountable. But you want to surround yourself with those cheerleaders and not the people that question why you are so bold and brilliant. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. Now, I want you to reflect. What's one decision you've been putting off because it feels too big or too scary? What's one small courageous action you can take today to move closer to it? Write it down, commit to it, and take that first step. Courage is the force that drives change. It's the fire starter for your growth. It's the antidote to fear. If you do have lots of fear and you want a prescription to fix it, use courage. Practice courage. The more you use it, the stronger it gets and the more you'll see it impact on your life and business. Thank you so much for joining me today and listening to all of my thoughts on courage. It truly is my favourite thing, I think, and ultimately one of my superpowers, it seems. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who could use a little courageous boost. And don't forget to like, share, and follow The Joy Work Show for more stories and strategies that keep joy at the heart of your journey. And if you really like what I've said today, what I've said in other podcasts, and everything we're doing here at the Joy Work Show, why not come and join us in the Joy Work community? The link is in the show notes, and that is a space where we collaborate, share our businesses, have time to promote, network, and much, much, much more. Come on over and have a look. And I will see you later on this week for one of our wonderful guest episodes. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.